Have you started making money in your business and wonder what's next after you hire an employee or two? Have you started to add people to your team and you're wondering when enough is enough? Have you found yourself in your business spending more time managing people than doing the work? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, or you work for a small business and you are nodding along with this, you are in the right place. Today, we are going to be talking about the evolutionary stages of business, specifically through the lens of building a team. And why this is so incredibly important is because often there is this misconception that as your business becomes more successful, you as the business owner get to pick and choose how you spend your time. And the fallacy can create a lot of heartburn for you because what ends up happening is over time, what you do in the business and how you show up in the business shifts. And if it's not a shift that you want, you can plan now so that you're prepared for the future. I'm Melissa Franks, your on-call COO, and you're on the Opt-in podcast where we talk about what it takes to have a business go from surviving to thriving. This is where the tips and tricks of corporate meet small business, and you get practical advice that you can take back into your business today to execute. As I mentioned, today we're talking about the evolutionary stages of business. And if you are listening to this and not watching this on YouTube, you might want to switch platforms right now only because today I have a visual aid, which I'm going to be pointing to and talking through. Why is that? Because as those of you on YouTube can see, there are 7 stages that we are going to run through, and we're going to focus on just a couple for the purpose of today's podcast. Over time, we'll hit all of the rest of them. And really why I wanted to have this conversation with you was because across the board, every single client and small business owner that I know in the past few months has brought up this question. And the question is, am I really in the people management business? And the answer is yes. Now, have they all asked it in the same way? Absolutely not. Generally, it has come kind of sideways and been mentioned as I'm spending so much time managing the people working for me, I can't get anything done. And that is absolutely a symptom of a growing business. You, as the business owner, change. You evolve, and the work that you do and how you show up in the business evolves. And as I mentioned at the very top, if you're not in this because you love managing people, you're in this because of your mission that you had when you started the business, or you really enjoy serving your customers and that's where you want to be, or you love to create and you want to continue to innovate in this space, then this is a really important conversation for you to participate in today, because I'm going to give you some levers you can pull so that early on you can prepare to not be in the people management business. So before we get into that and I give you your exit strategy from that, what I want to talk to you about are the evolutionary stages of business. Specifically, how a business goes from just you doing it alone to a fully functioning small business with a team of executives and directors and managers and all of these people running the show. Because that's really, if you have a strong desire to grow your business to exponential heights, to hit the 8 and 9 figure club with your business, what it's going to end up looking like eventually is a whole lot of people at a whole bunch of different levels with a whole bunch of different expertise doing the thing that they do best. And spoiler alert, it's not what you do best. We're going to get to that. So I want to run through these stages really quick, and then we're going to kind of talk about what it means as you pass through them. Stage number 1 is where you do it alone. It's all you. Anything that happens, it happens because of you. And then when you move to stage 2, you're moving to stage 2 because you hire a person. Notice it doesn't say people, it says a person. Generally, when you go from alone to stage 2, you got like a Jack or Jill of all trades. You knew you needed help, you were buried alive, your business was growing, you didn't quite know what to do, so you reached out for help and hired whoever was closest that seemed like they could get stuff done. And then at stage 3, you realize, wow, I really need somebody that is an expert, or a group of somebody's, or a business that's an expert in this thing because I don't know how to do it. Usually it's marketing. Sometimes it's social media management. Sometimes it's operations. But this outsource a function is where you say, wow, I really need to be next level with this dimension of my business, and I can't do it by myself. The person I hired can't do it. I need a partner. And then after you've done that and you're rocking and rolling and you're continuing to grow, the next stage that you get to is you need to hire some leadership. You need to hire a manager. And what a manager is a manager is somebody that can manage people. Hello, the person or persons that you've now hired, because likely between 2 and 3, you've gone from a team of 2 to a team of 5 or 6 plus this outsourced function. So when you start to hire managers, what you're doing is you're hiring somebody that can manage the people and can do the work. The distinct difference between a manager and you'll see here later, directors and executives, is that managers still roll up their sleeves and get stuff done. They still really have specific tactics that they need to be getting delivered, and part of their job is managing the people. And then after you have a couple of managers and you've got more and more people and you still have these outsourced functions, what you're going to need to bring in at stage 5 is a director or 2. And what a director does is a director manages multiple functions. So the way that you can look at this is that in stage 4, you hire one or more individuals to manage a specific function. So you might hire a manager for operations. You might hire a manager for communications. You might hire a manager for customer experience. And then when you get to stage 5, because you continue to grow and grow and grow, and now you've got a whole bunch of these managers managing a whole bunch of these people, the directors manage multiple functions. So what you have is you have a director who's managing marketing and operations. You have a director that's managing sales and communications. You have a director that's managing, I don't know, finance and IT. You can kind of pick your poison on how you want to set this up. There's some best practices, but at the end of the day, it's up to you based on the people you have in front of you. So directors manage functions, managers multiple functions, managers manage a single function and all of the people that do the work, and managers also do the work. And then once you've got these directors, what ends up happening is you now have the capability to expand the team. Now that you have directors that can manage multiple functions, what you're able to do is you're able to insource all those functions that you outsourced at stage 5, outsourced at stage 3. So in stage 6, when you insource, you're reversing what you did in stage 3. Now you have all the experts working for you. You have people that know how to manage those experts. You know how people that know how to do the job. And then at the very last stage, stage 7, this is where you hire executives. Did I just blow your mind that that's the last stage? The last thing that you do is give anybody the title of chief of something. Let me say that again for the people in the back. The last thing that you do is hire a chief of something. Now, if up here in stage 3, you've outsourced something and you have a fractional CMO or a fractional COO or a fractional CTO, cool. They're part-time. You outsourced the function. They've got other people that they're working with or other providers or other tricks up their sleeve. But when you get down to stage 7 and you're going to say, I'm hiring an employee that is going to be my chief financial officer. I am hiring an employee who is going to be my chief marketing officer. What that means is that person has experience, deep experience, leading teams of various sizes and various dimensions and functions, potentially across industries, and they have demonstrated that they can run an organization at the level for which you aspire to have your business be one day. So case in point is that as you're going through stages 2 where you're hiring a person all the way down to insourcing at stage 6, you know where you're trying to go. You're hiring for where you're at, or maybe a step or 2 ahead. So maybe by the time you get to insourcing, you're nearing $10 million. That's fantastic. That means that all of these people here are going to have a variety of skills which either got you there or are going to help you stay there. When you get to stage 7 where you're hiring the executives, these are the people that have over and over and over and again helped a company get to 9 figures. They've helped a company get to 50 million, 70 million, 100 million. You're not hiring at stage 7 to support your current business size. These experts that you're bringing in at this last step, they're the ones that are going to skyrocket your business because they know what it takes to operate below your ambition. Their secret weapon, though, is that they know what it takes to get to where you want to go. And that's really where the transformation happens. So I want you to understand these stages of business because as we have this conversation about, am I now a people manager versus a creative? Am I now a people manager versus somebody that delivers to my clients? Who am I and what do I do? It's important to understand how the business evolves over time. And here's the kicker. As you go down these stages, you go from you do everything, you do it alone, which means you're not managing a single person except yourself. You're doing it alone. And then what ends up happening is as you give away a little bit of work, you replace it with needing to manage the people or the companies that are doing the work. And you don't really get to a place where you buy back your time significantly until you start outsourcing functions. And so what I want to talk about specifically is how you start to buy back your time at stage 3 with outsourcing the function. And then as you go through stage 3 through 7, the choices that you get to make here about what you're going to do with your time, because this is where freedom of choice starts to come in. Before that, when you're doing it alone, you're doing it all. When you hire a person, you're managing them. Nothing changes for you. You may have given them 20% of the work, but that 20% of the time, you are effectively managing that person, okay? And then at stage 3, when you outsource a function, this is where things get really interesting. So let's say, just because I like numbers, okay? Let's say that when you outsource a function, specifically, you, the business owner, are now going to be doing 60% of all of the work that it takes to run the business, okay? So you've got 60% here, okay? And then between the hire the person and the outsource a function, what's happened is that you have given that other 40% to other people. So this is you, is others. So now you think, oh my gosh, I have 40% more time. No, you don't. Because you're still managing this person that you hired, and you need to manage this provider. So you don't really have 40% free time to do whatever you want to do. If you're lucky, you have 20%. And by lucky, that means you hired the right person and you hired the right partner. The fallacy that all of you are walking around with is that as soon as you hire people and providers, you don't have to do anything else. You can go to the 60%, you can have 40% of your free time to do whatever you want, to create, to take a vacation, to la 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 la. And then what ends up happening is we get into a conversation and you say, I don't think I got the right person. Or you let this provider run wild, and then 2 or 3 months in the road, you've spent $10, $15, $20, $30,000, and then you come to me and say, hey, I think I picked wrong. And spoiler alert, you may not have picked wrong. Your picker may not be broken. You know what's broken is your ability to manage. See, the secret in all of this is that as you hire people and outsource functions, get help from agencies and service providers, you have to keep managing them. The thing that specifically this outsourced provider doesn't have is your history. What you have tried before, what you have seen, what lessons you have learned, what your clients really, really like, how you talk, the language that works. I could go on for 300 days about the things that this person, this agency, this marketing agency, this technology company, I could go on and on and on. So I'm going to stop myself. that they don't know. So the fallacy is that when you hire an agency and you hire people, you've bought back your time. You haven't. You may have bought back some of it if you did it right. And so here is where I want to pause for a second and tell you, this is the point when I started to hear grumblings, but I hired this wizard of a CMO, a fractional CMO. Why don't I have time? All I'm doing is following up with them and making sure they're doing stuff right. Yeah, exactly. Because they don't know your business as well as you. So here's the trick. There are a couple of tricks to not be lucky and getting 20% of your time free, so you're actually buying back your time, but to ensure that you do. Would you like to know what they are? Okay, number one, get references. Before you hire a person or a company, do a background check. Can they do what they say that they can do with the level of expertise that you need? Yes or no? Shop around for an outsourced partner. Compare what they're saying to you. Ask them to provide sample work. Ask them for references. What customers can I call? Who can I talk to about working with you? If they don't want to give it to you, you keep moving on. If any person or any business does not want to give you a referral, somebody you can call, they're hiding something and you need to move on. Very seriously. I don't even know what to say to you about that. Like, you need to move on. So the best way to get 20% free time out of this equation that we're doing, which is just based on made up numbers, is for you to pick right. So interview well, be really, really selective, run references, verify what they're telling you. Okay. And then dial in onboarding. Onboarding your person or your provider is incredibly important. Give them every single thing that they could possibly read. Show them all of the things that you've tried before. Give them processes and tools and ad copy and you name it. Literally open the vault and say, here's all of the things. And then frequently meet with them. Answer questions, verify work, course correct. This is a relationship that you are building here. You cannot go to blind date to married with 10 kids in 30 days. It just doesn't happen. You can't go from blind date to married 50 years in 10 days. Think about married couples when they're finishing each other's sentences and they know that this is a sort of coffee that she likes and, oh, don't give her that because she hates that food and this is the way she likes her plate arranged in front of her. I mean, all of these crazy things that married couples know. They've been married for 50 years. You can't expect a provider or even a human that you hire into your business to have that level of understanding day 1, day 30, day 60, day 90. You have to help them. So this 20% free doesn't actually exist until it does. And you are in complete control over how much free time, how much time you buy back. And it's completely based on how well you select and then how well you onboard. And the reason that this equation that we have is 60%, when you get to the place where you're outsourcing functions and you've hired a person, you're still doing 60% of the work. You've given 40% to the other people. You're still going to be spending 20% of your time managing them. These guys are not independent operators that can just run off into the wild and work and work and work forever. Even the best people, even the stellar fractional CFO, fractional CMO, fractional COO, they don't know your business the way that you do. You still need to communicate with each other. You still need to say, like, explain to me why you're doing that way, or how is that going to impact other functions, or do I need to bring my person in so that we can make sure we're all working together well? You're still going to have to manage people 20% of the time. Okay? So there's a fallacy there that as soon as you start hiring people, you have all this free time. You don't. How you spend your time shifts. So in this example, 60% of your time is still working inside of the business and on the business. 20% of your time is managing people, and the other 20% you get to reinvest somewhere else, wherever you want. Wherever you want. That's yours, right? And then when you get to stage 4, which is hiring managers, this equation doesn't actually change. Because at stage 4, you stop managing your person in stage 2, and instead, what you are now doing is you're managing your managers. So in the example that I had just given you, 60% of the time you were working. Still true. Okay? 40%, I'm going to change that. Yeah, 40% you're giving to other people, okay? And then we had 10%, nope, I take that back. We had 20% where you were managing people, okay? So this you gave to other people. Let's go back through that. 60% of the time you are working in your business. 20% of the time you're managing people. Here's the thing. The 20% of managing people doesn't actually change in stage 4. It's just who you're managing changes. So in stage 3, 20% of your time you are managing your person and your outsourcer. Now, 20% of your time you are managing your manager and whoever your manager is not managing. Your manager may be managing the person, your manager may be managing the outsourcer, but your manager's not going to be managing both. So nothing changes. So the next fallacy that I want to talk about is that when you hire a manager, you're still at a place where you are managing people a certain percentage of the time. You get to, and we're just using this example because it's easy math. You are still working in your business 60% of the time. You are still managing people 20% of the time, and then you still have 20% of your time to reinvest in another way. Okay? Where you really start to see a lift, where you really start to see the ability, if you choose to buy back your time further, pull yourself further out of the business, is in stage 5 when you start getting directors. Because once you have directors, then they're managing multiple things. So your first director hire, if we keep this very linear, could manage the manager that you hired, okay, and the outsourcer. So in essence, your director is managing the manager who's managing the person, and your director is managing the outsource function. So what does that leave you with managing? Think about it. Just the director. So instead of you spending 20% of your time managing, now you're spending 10% of your time. All of a sudden, you have 30% of your time free, okay? 30% free. And you see that lift, okay? And that stays relatively static even as you start to hire and hire more people. Now, I said that this is the place between stage 4 and stage 5 that you get to choose what happens with the 60% of the work that you're still doing. Do you want to continue to do 60% of the work? That's a question for you. In the model where you don't want to do 60% of the work anymore, you can, because remember I told you managers do work also, you can give the manager some of your work. So what could happen alternatively, if we use the same example at stage 4, is that when you hire managers, you can work in your business 40% of the time. Let's just erase this. Okay, so you can work in your business 40% of the time. That's you. Okay? You can't see that. So we'll do it down here. You can work in your business 40% of the time, which is you. Okay? 40% of the time is you, which means that your manager is managing 20% of the time. Okay? So they're off doing things, but you gave 20% of your work away. So now you have the 20% plus the free 20% that you had, the 10% for only needing to manage the manager. So all of a sudden, you're working in your business 40% of the time. You're managing people 10% of the time. So that's 50% working in the business. And you have 50% free. You see how that works? When you get to stage 4, when you get to stage 4 where you're hiring managers, all of a sudden the name of the game changes. That's where you get to decide how much of the work you don't want to do anymore, and you delegate it to the managers and the directors. That's right. So if you just delegate a little bit of work, by the time you hire one manager, 50% of your time you have bought back. And you can continue to go through this equation. But this all comes down specifically to how you want to spend your time in your business. So if you're one of those people that is like, I started my business not to manage people, I don't want to manage people, that's awesome, because you know what you can do is you can grow your business to a place where you can afford to and support hiring managers and directors, and you can hire people to manage your people. Absolutely. That example that I just gave you, where you had 60% of you working in the business and other people were managing the rest of the staff, so you were only spending 10% of your time managing people, you can absolutely work that model. What it means is that you need to hustle through these first few phases of business growth to get to a place where you can reliably pay managers and directors to be in your business to manage your people. See, the thing is, you own the business. So you get to decide how you spend your time. Eventually. Not at the beginning. Not when you're growing. Not when your business plateaus and you don't know what to do next. It's the wrong time to be bringing in a manager. When you have steady business growth and you know without a shadow of a doubt what it takes to get your business turning over year and adding millions and going, when you get to these stages where you can start hiring the people that manage the people, all bets are off. You get to decide how much of your work you're going to delegate down. And that's the secret. So those of you that are frustrated right now and you're saying, I didn't start this to manage people, I don't want to manage people, you need to look at what stage your business is in and then determine, what do I need to do to get to those stages where I can hire people to manage people and I don't have to do this anymore. I want to tell you a story because I think that what can seem overwhelming here is actually very realistic. There is a business that I'm working for right now that is completely staffed by independent contractors. So there's hundreds of people that they have available to do work for them. And then there's 3 or 4 core people that really run the business. And in speaking with the business owner, one of the pain points was this push and pull about people management. And it was really kind of this, exactly what we've described here. I want to do the things that I like to do in the business, and I want my free time, and I want to choose how I use that free time, and I want to limit the amount of time that I'm spending managing people. How can we make that work? And the answer was, you need to bring somebody in to manage the people. And it wasn't a full-time hire. It wasn't somebody that was, going to completely run the show. But what it did is it provided a buffer. It was the person that was there between the business owner, who really didn't want to manage the people, and the people doing the work. And what is happening now that we've been able to put kind of that buffer, that manager level in between, is there's relief to the business owner, because something that they really didn't enjoy doing, they're not doing anymore, and are actually finding joy interacting with the team now that they don't have to provide feedback and stay on top of tasks and do all those things that managers do. And the team is actually significantly happier because they're getting responses and they're getting direction and they're getting feedback and things are moving. See, that business is not an 8-figure business. It's not even anywhere close. But what the owner was able to do was figure out, this is how much money we make steadily, this is how much we're growing, and we've demonstrated this year over year. And at the right price and at the right level of support, we can actually get to stage 4, where we're bringing in some help, where we're hiring a manager, where I'm taking the people management off of my plate. So I want to share that story with you because you don't need to get to $10 million before you can hire a manager. Depending on your business and depending on your profit margin, you may be able to do this at $1 million. I don't know your business is, so you're going to have to make that call on your own. You're going to have to ask for some help. These are things that I advise on inside of my business. This is one of the very first things that we look at, is how we're structured and how we're going to make this go. But what's important is that every business is going to be different. The dollar figure that you need to attain as you go through these stages there isn't a framework. I can't tell you you're going to do it alone until you hit $2 million and then you're going to hire a person and that's going to be cool until you get to 4. I can't tell you that because it's just simply not true. You may hire a person when you're making 6 figures, low 6 figures. It just might be the way that it is. So This, how you go through these stages is really up to you, but what you're going to do is by the time you get to the level of growth that you're expecting, you're going to have all of these layers inside of your company. It's not hundreds of people. It might be 2 executives and 2 directors and a couple managers and then a team of people. It might be 10 or 12 or 14 people. This isn't a 100-person structure, but what it is it's a structure that sets you up for success. If you know how you're going to progress through and you can determine where you are right now, then you have a place to focus. And so the reason that I did the visual today is because it's really important to think about the progression of your business through the lens of the people that you're going to need to be able to get there. Because ultimately, you can't do it alone forever. And you don't want to do it alone forever. So you're going to have to hire a person. You're going to have to outsource the function. You're going to need to get managers and directors. And then, spoiler alert, you insource everything because you can support having more team members now that you have directors and managers. And then you're going to get an executive team that just crushes it. Just crushes it. And your business will be unrecognizable in the very best way. And you also will be unrecognizable in the very best way, because this equation that we started to write through, the more you go down this hierarchy, the more you have the freedom to choose how you spend your time. This is the equation for buying back your time. Buying back your time doesn't just happen one time. It happens over and over and over, and it compounds. It's just like compounding interest. As your business grows, the ability to buy back your time compounds. And ultimately, by the time you get to stage 7, you could literally hire a CEO and just be taking dividend payments for your business if that's what you choose to do. This model just talks about how you build your team. It doesn't talk about how you show up in your business. That's the fun part. That's where you get to step in. So this one's a little bit shorter and sweeter than normal, but I hope that this was helpful. Honestly, if you got lost, go watch the YouTube video, because it will help so much if you can see it on the screen. I knew this one was going to be complicated, but it's a topic that I am conversations over and over and over and over and over again about this. I can't even tell you. And all of us start businesses because we want time freedom, and that doesn't mean that we have an empty calendar. What that means is we have freedom to choose how we spend our time. That's the true freedom. And understanding this and where you are on this journey is going to help you determine what sort of time freedom you have right now based on where you are. And it helps eliminate frustration, and it helps you also see that it's just a season. So if you're in a season of where you're managing people and you really don't want to, it's okay. Keep doing it. Keep pouring into them. Keep encouraging them, because the faster that they work, the faster your business grows. The faster your business grows, the more time you have. I know that you can do this. I believe in you. I am proud of you. I want you to know that you are wise and you are strong and you are capable. And until next time, friends, let's freaking grow.